If you're a man and you were around during the 1990s, it's not unlikely that you have fond memories of model and actress Pamela Anderson, who left a strong impression on viewers as lifeguard CJ Parker on the hit TV series Baywatch. And after Anderson's departure from that show, throughout the years she's also appeared in various movies, TV show, and reality programming, always still banking on her appealing looks and persona. In more recent years, though, Anderson has gone through something of a rebranding, reframing the narrative of her past success to fit with more modern-day ideologies, presenting herself as more of a victim that was overly objectified in a male-driven society. And with all the mainstream media buzz surrounding Gia Coppola's latest film, The Last Showgirl, starring Pamela Anderson, it appears that the Hollywood machine has also embraced Anderson's new narrative, and just in time for award season, when they're known to do their biggest virtue signaling. You see, every year at this exact time, certain films emerge that push a popular Hollywood agenda in hopes of gathering awards. That's because over the past 2 decades, Hollywood has increasingly been rewarding specific politics and messaging over merit, often overshadowing a film's quality itself. And on the surface, The Last Showgirl is exactly the type of Oscar bait that checks off all the right boxes for Hollywood. Older actress making a comeback? Check. Female director who's the more stunning and brave relative of an iconic male director? Check. Feminist themes? Check. As an independent reviewer, as opposed to Hollywood, I really do have to judge a movie based on its own merit, and when I had the opportunity to see an early screening of The Last Showgirl, I was genuinely curious to see what all the fuss was about. But before we take a deep dive into this movie, if it's not too much trouble, please like and subscribe, as it would really mean a lot to me and to the ongoing work I do on this channel. The Last Showgirl follows the fading career of Shelley, a Las Vegas showgirl played by Pamela Anderson, who has long starred in the Razzle Dazzle, a Vegas burlesque show once celebrated but now overshadowed by other naughtier and more vulgar local shows. When Shelley finds out that the show that she's been a part of for decades is shutting down for good, she finds her career prospects dwindling, with little money and few opportunities on the horizon. Shelley's close friend Annette, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, is an even older former showgirl herself, now working as a casino waitress, trying to relive the glory of her youth, and in a way acts as some type of cautionary tale within this story. The film also explores the lives of several younger showgirls and how the show's closure affects them, while Shelley also attempts to reconnect with her estranged daughter, who has always resented her mother's profession and how it had affected her upbringing. During this time, Shelley also considers rekindling a romance with her longtime colleague Eddie, who is himself a deadbeat father of sorts, because that's how men are typically portrayed in these type of movies for some reason. Anyhow, as Shelley prepares for her final performance, the film captures her journey through this transitional stage in her life and offers some type of conclusion in a movie that I would best describe as frustrating. On the one hand, The Last Showgirl is a very low-budget indie movie with limited resources, yet it still successfully captures the everyday Vegas vibe while presenting us with local characters that ring true to their setting. And while I genuinely appreciate Gia Coppola's directorial effort here, shooting a film quickly, efficiently, and cheaply doesn't mean the movie gets a pass for all of its mistakes. For starters, while there are certainly interesting ideas to explore within a story like this, I feel like the writing of the screenplay here just isn't focused enough. As a result, the story kind of meanders around and doesn't really deliver the type of impact that it had the potential to, even though all of the narrative pieces of the puzzle are there. And I know some people would tell me, hey, it's just a small indie movie, what do you expect? But my answer to that is, even with a low budget, you could still have a more tightly written screenplay. Another major issue this movie has is its extremely poor cinematography, which in my opinion is some of the worst I've seen in recent memory. That's because most of the movie is filmed using close-up shots with a shaky camera, and it's both exhausting and very annoying. I can only assume that this strategy was employed as some sort of cost-cutting measure, but again, there are other camera techniques you could use, even on a tight budget, to get much better results. If I had to point out one thing that does work well in this movie, and perhaps elevates it above its very noticeable flaws, it's the casting here, which I think is perfect, as well as some strong acting performances. Even though I'm not a fan of the type of victimhood narrative currently being peddled by the mainstream media regarding Pamela Anderson's past as a sex symbol, I do agree that she was perfectly cast in this role, probably because the Shelley character has parallels to the real-life Pamela Anderson herself, as both of them are aging women who have built careers on their looks and appeal. And while I agree that Pamela Anderson does do a good job here, clearly giving the best performance of her entire career, I am rather doubtful that she'll ever be able to deliver a performance of this caliber again in the future. I mean, she's very believable as a past her prime Vegas showgirl, but I don't think she'd be convincing as, let's say, a rocket scientist, a lawyer, or a US president. I guess what I'm saying here is that I'm not sure Pamela Anderson has much of an acting range beyond what we see here, but I suppose time will tell. Another good casting choice here is Billie Lourd, the late Carrie Fisher's daughter, who plays Shelley's estranged daughter. As a real-life daughter of a mother in show business, I couldn't help but feel that much like Anderson, Lourd was able to bring some personal elements from her own life into her performance, which is probably why it also works so well. Another surprisingly solid performance here comes from Dave Bautista, a typically limited-range actor that usually comes off as rather awkward and reserved, but in this case, it's exactly what his role needed, so he's actually a good fit for it. Kiernan Shipka, who grew up playing Don Draper's daughter on Mad Men, is given a more grown-up role here as a young showgirl who regrets her life choices, and I think she handles it rather well. But acting-wise, I would say that the most difficult role here was given to Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays Annette, the over-the-hill former showgirl hustler. Curtis absolutely nails the role, and having her in this cast really adds credibility to the entire movie, as well as the more grim Las Vegas atmosphere it aims to create. Overall, though, in spite of the media hype, awards buzz, a decent concept, and some good acting performances, I think this movie is quite overrated, even for a small-budget indie. And while I didn't necessarily hate it, I felt like there was a much better movie hidden here than the one we ended up getting, and if I had to give this movie a score, I would give it a 68 out of 100, which means that it gets a passing grade, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't live up to its potential. On the bright side, if you enjoy my honest and exclusive independent reviews, please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow my channel so you'll always know when I've posted a new one. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.